Nintendo as we know it today definitely hasn't been this way forever, where they're stuck in their ways and failing to attract back the fans, yet still putting out fan-baiting games every now and then. In the SNES days, as we've seen, Nintendo was at a point where it decided to hand licenses to their product to anyone with even half of an idea in their heads, hence the long and maligned history of Mario educational games. But now that we're in the mid-2000s, it looks like the company has been sniffing out for innovation and uniqueness, because Metroid Prime started around this time, along with the heavy investment in Mario Sports. Then there was Luigi's Mansion, Wind Waker, and the Star Fox GameCube titles, the last F-Zero game. It was a weird time, and one of the experiments that came out of the company was the spin-off of a spin-off that was Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, another RPG series that would coincide with the lauded Paper Mario boys. Since the company, AlphaDream, has a few guest video game heads on the staff, it would make sense that there would be similarities between one and the other. It's that more modern attitude of spin-offs where the company behind it says they want to do something different that still feels familiar enough so that the audience doesn't get scared off. The game has comedic aspirations. It follows parts of the Mario formula. You see longtime characters, Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Bowser again, and there's even another bunch of stars that you have to collect to stop a big villain. How could this not appeal to the Paper Mario crowd? Any ploy to get the old guard fans on board this handheld title is fine by me, because this game is amazing and it's trying to do its own take on the RPG genre in spite of its comparisons to other games, because while they both are comedic, it's two different kinds. Paper Mario had a more cohesive world where encounters progressed naturally and it was all just generally light and colorful, while Superstar Saga goes for more of the gut punch laughs and direct comedy bits, usually involving Luigi falling on his face and everyone laughing at his expense. This game does show just how much more interesting the Green Brother is, since he's the one that's inept at everything and has actual emotions, while Mario is the unemotional rock that carries Luigi through the entire crisis. Like most other Mario games, the plot is token at best. Cackletta and Fawful, a couple of powerful mages, invade the helpless castle of Mushroom Kingdom in order to steal Princess Peach's voice for some diabolical plan, so the Mario crew have to go stop her ass. It's the basic rescue the princess plan without the princess. But unlike Paper Mario that sticks to its gathering quest, Superstar Saga gets more complicated later as the player learns about Cackletta's plan to use Peach's voice to awaken the Beanstar so that she can use its power to rule the world, and then the Beanstar breaks into 4 parts, so Mario has to collect them, and when that falls apart, Mario then finally gets to rescue the princess. Along the way, Mario will be exploring a brand new kingdom full of danger, thrills, and fun times, the Bean Kingdom, where all citizens are made of completely different plants than Mario's hometown, and they're all oddly sarcastic in a hilarious way. Like Paper Mario, most of the interactions of the game are hilarious, such as the scene where the castle guards are excited to meet their new saviors, yet they don't know who they are at the same time. Thankfully, most of the game is like this, and the writing is precisely on point, along with the game earning a lot of points with its animation chops that add a lot to an already comedic scene by showing the characters falling down, poking people, or getting scared. It all comes together to be an exemplary showing of how things can be done in a video game to produce hearty laughs that other mediums simply cannot duplicate. Superstar Saga is a finely detailed game that puts the effort in throughout the entire thing, creating a comedic world rather than just having comedic moments. It gives life to the characters, the interactions, and the plot itself that the game can actually express emotions through its animation. It's all just lovely, thank you. However, below that loveliness lurks a sinister undertone that needs to be addressed. Nintendo has a long and proud history of hidden intentional creepiness throughout its series. Majora's Mask is an obvious example. Luigi's Mansion's entire plot gets fucked up if you look at it long enough. And then there's the Pokemon series that strives to deliver one horror level each generation. And then we get to Superstar Saga, which earns a strange honor in being a light and funny game with explicitly terrifying plot points. What makes the game even weirder is that the game specifically outlines the horrors that are going on and just doesn't care or ignores it completely. The obvious example of this strange trope is Oho Oasis. On the surface, it is a short, forgetful level that only exists to give the player their elemental abilities, and they'll move on to the next bit. You'll most likely spend only 20 minutes in this level, but if you manage to find the only 2 stereos on the island that deliver the audio logs checkbox for Oho Oasis, you learn that the blob creatures that have been hanging around and saying strange, incoherent nonsense are actually the results of a lost research team from the mainland being transformed into the Oho-G after one of the researchers accidentally or on purpose set one of them on fire. Why the hell would you put that in a game? Why is this E-rated? How fast is the nearest exit off this island of doom? And then there are the other things too, like the Woohoo University thing, the possession and transformation of Bowser, the creation of Drago Ho-Ho, and it makes you start wondering who the hell is in the AlphaDream staff. While exploring the new kingdom in an RPG is important, along the way you will eventually be fighting some monsters, and that means getting a hold of the combat. AlphaDream started off in using a typical Paper Mario style menu and turn-based combat system with a bit of customization, and it added a new idea: real-time hybridization. Instead of just being able to do QTEs on the player's turn to up the damage of attacks, the player is also given the ability to actively defend themselves from enemy attacks by jumping or deflecting them. This type of real-time turn-based combat opens a lot of doors for new ideas in the combat, making the combat more reactive and engaging to play, since the player is involved in every aspect of it. There's also new types of attacks and combos added later, and all of this is expounded to the player with hand-holding tutorials. And while it's a good thing that Superstar Saga explains all of its new ideas in fine detail, someone should tell them that they don't need to beat the player over the head with literally every detail about their game and how it works. It's not a knock against the game because the developer doesn't troll its players with repeating tutorials, it's just something to keep in mind for later. In addition to the great storytelling and fun combat, the game also breaks up the action every once in a while with mini-games that are enjoyable, intuitive distractions following in Mario Party's footsteps, where the player is given a simple challenge and some controls and then told to go nuts. These range from the early Border Patrol jump rope test, to the gambling machine in Little Funga Town, all the way down to the Chocola Bounce Coliseum Showdown. Each one is different from each other, and while they draw from the simple controls of the game itself so that they can be picked up quickly for high enjoyment, they also don't have high bars for being beaten to progress through the plot, and they turn out to be the type of easy to learn, hard to master games that have a chance of bringing back non-completionist gamers for another round, and I'm glad that they exist to break up the regular game. You just never know what could be next when there are so many things to do in this game. And then from there you get some great puzzles that are clever sometimes, they get a bit repetitive as well, and a couple are pretty obtuse and nonsensical, which is par for the course when a game leans a lot on the reliability of a puzzle box idea party favor. It can make a level like the Woohoo University as much as break a level like the SS Chocola, yet at least they are numerous and different enough to be another needed break from the non-stop combat that is typical for an RPG to fall into. And to continue doing that, there are of course the boss fights that pop up at least once a level. The designs are well done, they're interesting and very different from each other. Each one has a different gimmick, more so than Paper Mario, in using that real-time element to produce completely new RPG fight ideas like Wiggler and Queen Bean, where you have to figure out how to make the boss vulnerable and where their weak spots are, along with memorizing their attack patterns on the fly to avoid dying at a crucial moment. They aren't all going to be award winners, and the biggest bugbear is the final boss, Cackleta's Soul, that combines high health, tiny weak points, and a boring boss rush prelude to create a disaster at the ending. At that point in the game, the story's already been satisfying enough between all the challenges that have been overcome. It's odd because this game started out as your usual rescue Princess Peach plot, and then the Beanstar thing gets added to the mix. Princess Peach is saved halfway through and then recaptured before being rescued by Mario Brothers' trickery, so when everything is said and done, the only reason that Mario and Luigi have to defeat Cackleta is because she out of nowhere attacks the kingdom with a flying castle. The plot is set up very weirdly, and in doing so makes dealing with the actual villains of the story feel more like tying up loose ends than facing real adversity. It goes with the territory of making a cutting-edge, subversive take on a Mario game, making jokes about its cliches by studying studying them in depth, and while the game has its issues, it's the thing that happens with a video game that uses all the ideas from the brainstorming meeting like a meth-fueled artist. It is still a masterpiece example that helped to launch the continued popularity of the Mario RPG genre. The game has a living, breathing, multi-dimensional character roster and worlds through AlphaDream's expert writing of silly jokes and puns. It has some added animation to make the characters' actions more believable and hilarious in the game's use of physical comedy. It's got the innovative combat system that married real-time to turn-based combat so that the player is engaged 100% of the time. It has great puzzles, amazing mini-games, and boss fights out of the wazoo that break up the game into a flavored stew of unique design, which gives the player something new to look forward to in every level. And all of this is available on Nintendo's last Game Boy iteration, continuing my belief that the lower cost of handheld development drives the exploration of more unique ideas in the industry. And boy, after the negativity that boiled over during our retro look at Super Mario Sunshine, I really need another Mario game like this that I can just slobber all over and recommend the crap out of. This was a nice period in Nintendo's history where they weren't so protective of their precious franchises, and we got cool new ideas like this in Metroid Prime. I don't know how long it's going to keep going, but let's hope for a long shelf life. Until the next journey, I'll be leaving you with a colorful final score and a light, fluffy victory for gamers. See you guys next week when we tackle another one.